Hello, my name is Aaron Flanagan and I am a 26-year-old Scottish writer and illustrator who specialises in works based around the Titanic tragedy. And this video is a time lapse of a drawing I did which depicts not only the moment where the bridge of the ship goes under, but also depicts the last reported sightings of, the last reported sighting of Thomas Andrews and one of the last reported sightings of Captain Smith. So just for a bit of context, I know most people watching this will think, well, Thomas Andrews was last seen in the smoking room. You know, in the James Cameron film, obviously, Rose and Jack are running upwards through the ship towards the stern. And they go through the smoking room and Rose sees Thomas Andrews and she stops and she speaks to him. And he's in a bit of a trance and she says, "Won't you even make a try for it?" And of course he doesn't, because later on we see that he's still in the smoking room. Just actually at this moment, you know, when the bridge goes under, when the final plunge begins and the band are playing Nearer My God to Thee, their last song of the night, Thomas Andrews is still in the smoking room. However, in real life, the line that Rose delivers of "Won't you even make a try for it" was delivered by a steward whose name escapes me right now. I feel like it was Stewart, just to confuse things even more. I could be wrong. However, Rose gets the line in the film. However, that isn't the last sighting of Andrews. It's one of the last sightings of him. You know, he definitely was in the smoking room at some point. But the last sighting of him was actually a sighting which reported that he jumped from the bridge of the ship just as it went under. Another survivor said that just before the bridge went under, there still was a sense that the ship might still be okay. But then they overheard Andrews and Smith in the wheelhouse, and Andrews said to Smith, "She's going," obviously referring to the ship. And this passenger overhearing Thomas Andrews saying that actually, you know, scared them. You know, hearing the designer and master shipbuilder of the ship saying, you know, "There's nothing we can really do. She's definitely going to go," when there's still over 1,000 people on this ship is, you know, would be pretty terrifying. So as much as all the films and the media show Andrews, including the Titanic musical, I think Thomas Andrews gets the last song of the show in the smoking room. As much as that is very dramatic and very stoic, it seems to not be the truth. And actually, when you hear of Thomas Andrews and how he was on this voyage on Titanic leading up to the sinking, it makes perfect sense that he didn't resign himself to his fate, because not only is he human, but he had a very young child who I think was only a few months old and a wife waiting for him back home in Belfast. And it would stand to reason that he would want to see them again, because during the voyage he was reported to have told many people that as much as, you know, he was very happy with his latest ship, he was very homesick, and he felt that the closer they got to New York, the further he was getting away from his family, which, you know, of course he was, but that was his job, was to build these ships, and, initially as part of the guarantee group, to go on them and make sure that everything was running as it should. And as much as that was his job, he still was longing to just be home with his family. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that actually, because he was a human, and because he obviously very much loved his wife and wanted to see her again, even before he knew he was going to die, or might die, it makes sense and stands to reason that he would try and save himself. I don't think anyone could blame him. And whatever they thought, Smith and Andrews, by jumping off the bridge, they maybe thought that they could swim over to a lifeboat. The last sighting of Captain Smith was from the top of an overturned lifeboat. He apparently swam over, tried to get on, was struggling to get on, or was stopped from getting on, and wished the men luck, and he went on his way. So this idea that Smith and Andrews went into this coma-like suicidal state, again, it works in films, but it doesn't seem to be what happened. Smith and Andrews seemed to want to live, or at least not want to be on the ship when it went down. Now, the fact that neither of their bodies were found is interesting, because that might imply that actually they ended up going down with the ship. And the reason for that could possibly be that since they jumped just as the bridge went under, and since Smith was last seen going over to the collapsible lifeboat, which was overturned and was washed off the deck not long after the bridge went under, that wasn't long before the first funnel then fell. And obviously the first funnel falling would not only crush people who were under it, but would create a large hole which would draw water in and down through the ship, or at least into that section where the funnel once was. So, with neither of their bodies having been found, it's possible that they both were drawn into that hole. It's possible they were crushed, and because neither were wearing life belts, and in my drawing I've depicted Andrews wearing a life belt, however I've been very intentional to show that it's unfastened. When he was last seen in the smoking room, his life preserver was on the back of a chair. He'd kind of just thrown it to the side. So in my drawing, and I think he was reported to have been seen walking to the bridge holding it, but in my drawing I wanted to portray him having just quickly thrown it over his head, and he's not really taking the time to fasten it, he's just quickly thrown it on. Smith isn't wearing one, and yeah, I mean, it's very sad, especially when you hear that Andrews, was talking on the 10th, the 11th, 12th, 13th, during the day on the 14th of April, saying, he just kind of wanted to be home, and he was feeling quite homesick. And so now, it's 2:10 in the morning, and the ship that you helped build and that you're on is going to be gone in, minutes, and what can you do? There's nothing you can really do. And despite the fact that there's nothing you can do, he's still clearly, based on real survivor testimony, he didn't just give up. He fought. He jumped from the ship, and who knows what he did after that. But Smith definitely tried to get onto a lifeboat, and it's interesting because Lightoller, Second Officer Charles Lightoller, was heavily criticised for surviving, being the most senior officer to survive. Obviously, First Officer William Murdoch perished. He didn't shoot himself that we know of, as depicted in the James Cameron film, and his family actually sued 20th Century Fox and James Cameron for portraying Murdoch as dying in that way. But since Lightoller was the most senior officer to survive, you know, the public was very critical of that. So can you imagine if Captain Smith had actually made it onto the top of the lifeboat, which Charles Lightoller also made it onto, and the two of them would have been, you know, completely ostracised for living. Never mind Ismay, who, you know, just kind of got into a lifeboat which Murdoch was lowering and survived that way. You know, he didn't have to put up a fight to survive, whereas Lightoller definitely had to put up a fight, and, you know, Smith and Andrews, if they'd survived, would have, you know, definitely had to have put up a fight. So with this drawing, I'm depicting something that isn't often seen. You know, we do tend to see Andrews in the smoking room, or we see Smith being very stoic on the bridge, either shouting through a golden megaphone, you know, every man for himself, or he's in the wheelhouse just resigning himself to what's to come. And I wanted to depict these two men, you know, being human and, you know, being just as scared and just as proactive as everyone else around them. So, you know, with my art, I like to focus on scenes that we don't often see, or scenes that we've never seen. And I also like to really inject the humanity of the situation into the artwork. That's very much my kind of goal with it. And the end goal is I would like to publish a book, an illustrated history of the Titanic tragedy, using these illustrations and, you know, having text which kind of describes what's happening in that moment. And, you know, I'll touch very lightly on the days leading up to the sinking, but the majority of the book will be focusing on the sinking, because there is just so much to not only write about and discuss, but also so much to portray. So yeah, I hope you liked this video, I hope you liked the drawing, and hopefully you've learned a little something about the true end of the lives of Thomas Andrews and Captain Smith.